I wanted to understand something important about Mountain Blade Bannerlord. A question scholars have debated for centuries, a question I decided to answer because I have nothing better to do with my life. That question is, what happens if one man roleplays as a Khan guard harder than the Khan himself? So naturally, I turned myself into the most inefficient, ill-prepared, questionable skilled horse archer in Calradia, and immediately the results were promising. It turns out that giving me a horse and a bow doesn't magically make me good at either of those things. In fact, it magnifies every flaw in my decision making. So here I am, a young Khan guard in the wide open steppes, ready to bring honor and glory to Khuzait. And by honor and glory I mean public humiliation at the hands of men who dress like freshly unpacked potatoes. Observe how the native fauna reacts to my presence. Some creatures run, some creatures fight, and the looters, the apex predators of the Bannerlord ecosystem, choose to chase me in a group like a pack of wolves. After being spiritually and physically folded, I decided to approach this playthrough like a researcher. Step 1. Collect the data. Step 2. Interpret the data. And Step 3. Ignore the data and do something stupid anyways. This method has carried me through life and has never failed. Except for the all times it did. With persistence, practice, and the Khuzait racial bonus doing 99% of the heavy lifting, I improved. And by improved, I mean I missed slightly fewer shots and crashed into slightly fewer trees. A measurable upgrade. I began my journey the way every great warrior does, by spending 30 minutes constructing a face that should probably be illegal in most countries. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Gooner the First, a man who looks like he was generated by a medieval AI trained exclusively on cave paintings and trauma. For my culture, I choose the Khuzait, a proud horse-riding people known for dominating the steppes with lightning-fast cavalry. Which is perfect because I can't aim, I panic under pressure, and I fall off cliffs more often than I hit my enemies. So naturally, I will represent their entire civilization. Next step, childhood choices. I went with tribespeople for my family background, meaning my parents were wandering nomads who looked at their baby son and said, yes, this one will probably survive. A bold assumption. My early childhood traits was attention to detail. A strange choice because if I truly had attention to detail, I wouldn't be playing Bannerlord on easy difficulty at age 50. But we don't question the lore, we embrace it. In adolescence, I selected herded the sheep, a dignified profession. Nothing says future warlord like chasing livestock around a field while contemplating your life choices. For my youth, I picked stood guard with the garrisons. Meaning, at some point in his life, Gooner the First stood on the wall doing absolutely nothing while waiting for an enemy that never came. In many ways, this prepared me perfectly for the rest of the game. In young adulthood, I selected treated people well. An absolute lie. If this were accurate, nobody in Calradia would have ended up in my prisoner inventory. But Bannerlord allows delusion, so I took it. I also set my character's age to 50 because I wanted to roleplay a man who has truly had enough. He's tired, he's angry, his joints click when he climbs the stairs. And he's been waiting half a century for someone to give him a horse and say, go ruin someone's day. Then came the banner, white background, a giant hand symbol, truly majestic. A banner that says, I am not a threat, I am just confused, please don't shoot me. Perfect for the clan I eventually named the Gooners. A name that inspires respect absolutely nowhere. And finally, the settings. I set everything to easy. Because I am here to enjoy myself, relax and experience the story. But Bannerlord being Bannerlord still treats this like a Dark Souls with taxes. Even on lowest difficulty, the looters will still find a way to beat my soul out of my body like it's a piñata. And with all of that, the journey begins. Gooner the First, a 50-year-old sheep-herding, wall-staring, slightly delusional tribesman, ready to bring terror to Calradia. Or accidentally get captured again, whichever comes first. I spawned into a proud Kazite town of Makeb, a beautiful settlement full of culture, commerce, and absolutely zero horse archers for sale. So I did what any responsible adult would do. I left town immediately to find children, noble children, 3 of them to be precise. Kazite noble sons, the lifeblood of future Khan guards, and also legally distinct from child labor because they sell themselves. With my toddler cavalry in hand, I wandered over to Ortongard. That's when I encountered my first real threat, a pack of 16 steppe bandits. Or steppe bandits, I am not sure how it's pronounced. Those men travel at Mach 3, smell fear, and will chase you across the continent for sport. Naturally, I ran for my life into Ortongard like a raccoon diving into a dumpster. I waited inside like a medieval introvert until the bandits got bored and wandered off to ruin someone else's day. Then, the moment I step outside, I spotted a salvation, 8 looters. Looters are the tutorial bosses of Bannerlord. They come equipped with rocks, questionable fashion choices, and the tactical intelligence of a wet sponge. Perfect opponents. They pelted me with rocks, I responded by shooting arrows vaguely in their direction, and both sides performed like we were competing in a Calradian Olympics for mediocrity. But somehow, through a series of miracles and poor decisions, we won. One of my troops even upgraded, proving that suffering is the greatest teacher. After the fight, I looted their clothes, not for hygiene, not for fashion, but because they had slightly better numbers than my current clothes. And that's all Bannerlord players care about, statistical drip. And just as I stepped outside to continue my heroic journey, the steppe bandits returned, at the speed of light, from off-screen. They materialized like Skyrim bandits sensing a player carrying valuables. I couldn't fight because I was injured, so I pressed auto battle. A terrible mistake. My entire party evaporated and I was captured. Again. This was becoming a pattern. The bandits dragged me around the steppe like a medieval Uber driver who refuses to end the trip. Eventually, I escaped solely because they got tired of my existence. Immediately after escaping, I found a lone looter party. With no troops left and no plan, I attacked them. Self-preservation is not part of my playstyle. Of course I won, but only because the game pitied me. My health bar was lower than the hopes of a peasant in the plague years. And right when I thought things were improving, boom, steppe bandits again. Those men are like mosquitoes. Relentless, fast, and somehow always targeting me specifically. Too weak to fight, I bartered. I paid them the little money I had left in exchange for seeing another sunrise. A very inspirational moment. With my finances destroyed and my dignity questionable, I fled north, straight into Northern Empire territory, where the bandits have slightly less cardio. There I fought another looter group and won, which scientifically proves that if you fight enough small groups of poorly equipped men, eventually one of them dies before you. Finally, I arrived at Umbrella, the promised land. I sold everything I owned for a handful of denars. Then upgraded my bow skills with the precision of a man pretending he knows what he's doing. Dead aim, bodkin, rapid fire, mounted archery, the holy quartet of please let me hit something. Thus concludes the first painful chapter of my journey, a story of courage, flight, more flight, and statistically improbable survival. Truly a proud start for Gooner I, the man who loses fights so fast it becomes a renewable resource. After escaping the bandit industrial complex for the 12th time, I returned to Umbrella and did something sensible for once. I invested in more skill upgrades. I took Nimble Steed, Veterinary and Well-Built, which sounds like I'm preparing a horse for a bodybuilding competition, and then put most of my focus points into Steward, Medicine and Leadership. Because nothing says Vanguard roleplay like pretending to be a medieval accountant. Then I took a quest from Okarios the Chandler and immediately ignored the merchants telling me not to do it. Bannerlord is all about choices, and I choose violence, questionable decisions, and ignoring the NPCs who are obviously correct. On the road back to Ortongard, I spotted a looter party, perfect test subjects for my new skill set. I charged in, fired a few arrows, leveled up, and proved scientifically that if you fight enough poorly armed criminals, eventually something good happens. It's basically Darwinism but reversed. I evaded a larger looter group, completed the quest by delivering the goods to a man named Ger the Goat, and traded my trash loot for trash money. But of course, the moment I stepped outside Ortongard, a massive group of steep bandits materialized like they had me on a medieval GPS. So I sprinted back inside walls like a frightened cat. Once they wandered off, I barely emerged to continue my adventure. And immediately found villagers under attack. Finally, a fight I can win without crying. I joined them, defeated the bandits, got some prisoners, a boost in reputation and best of all, new armor and a helmet. Which is crucial because my old helmet had the protective power of a cardboard box. I continued hunting looters, winning battles and leveling skills. Of course, I also fell unconscious in one of those fights because my character is legally made of styrofoam. But my troops carried on, proving hierarchy is just a myth and my soldiers are the real protagonists. In the next village, I recruited more noble sons, the backbone of any respectable steep war crime operation, and set off across the Northern Empire towards Tugarian land. I needed cows for a quest I barely remembered accepting, and apparently the bandits remembered me. A raider party of 11 steep bandits instantly homed on me like I am a magnet drawn to misery. We fought in a forest, a terrible idea for horse archers, but somehow we won, losing only 2 troops. Basically Bannerlord's combat AI, consistent as always. After dropping off the cows, I found a bandit hideout, but apparently you need 25 troops to attack one. Which is unfair because the bandits inside only need IQ of 25 to function, so I left it alone. I noticed Tepes castle was under siege, but since I'm not affiliated with any kingdom, this is not my problem. I bought more troops, sold loot, attacked looters, won, did some light leveling, life was good. Until the steep bandits found me once again, like a medieval debt collectors. I was wounded, so I auto-resolved the fight, which resulted in predictable pain but still a victory. Then I made my way to Baltaghand, healed up, waited peacefully, and then was immediately attacked by 15 steep bandits. This did not go well, we lost, were captured, and my troops were deleted from existence. Back to square one we go. After some time the bandits offered to let me go for 285 coins, which I paid. Because at this point my life has the financial stability of a wet napkin. I limped back to the town to recover, only for the Northern Empire to siege it, forcing me into open field like a panicked squirrel. Where I was promptly captured again by steep bandits because I was wounded and unable to fight. This is no longer gameplay, this is a hostage situation. After escaping to Tylel, I decided to participate in a tournament. Naturally, I bet all my money on myself. Naturally, I won. I sold the reward and pretended this was part of my financial plan. With new hope and new troops, I returned to bullying bandit parties to level up. We fought steep bandits, leveled soldiers, gained skills, things were finally stabilizing. Then we encountered a party of 22 steep bandits but escaped thanks to my tactical brilliance, also known as running away in a straight line and praying. Found a village without the troops I wanted, destroyed more looters, bought more noble sons, life was shockingly peaceful. Then I reached a town, sold loot, bought war horses, upgraded skills and even won another tournament. The prize? A standard of courage, granting 20% morale resistance, which is great because my troops lose morale faster than I lose consciousness. I started calling myself the Robin Hood of the region, taking prisoners from the poor and selling them to the rich, a noble profession. I fought deserters, actual trained troops, and won. This gave me confidence, experience, and the false belief that things were finally on track. And then, in the greatest scientific breakthrough of the entire experiment, I misclicked, stopped moving for a half a second, and was instantly swarmed by 40 deserters. 40. Not 4, not 14, 40. This battle lasted approximately 6 seconds. We lost, I was captured, again, my troops were reduced to atoms, and the cycle continues. After being defeated by 40 deserters, I assumed incorrectly that my suffering had reached its natural biological limit. But Bannerlord is a game of innovation, it constantly discovers new ways to ruin me. The deserters released me for a small fee, which is surprising because I didn't know criminals offered subscription services. I took 5 steps north and immediately another deserter party pounced on me like I was a limited edition discount. They dragged me across Calradia for a bit, realized I had maybe 3 coins and a dream left, and let me buy my freedom. So I set sights on the nearest town, and the Bannerlord manifested its favorite wildlife, steep bandits. Like vultures smelling a fresh corpse, they swarmed me, captured again, refused their barter offer, and was fortunately freed when a passing army crushed them by accident. A true chain of miracles. Once free, I did the only logical thing. I went back to recruiting my army for the 9th time. I could afford 2 soldiers, a humble start for a humble man. And that's when a courier approached, delivering a message from Gerius of the Western Empire. He wanted me as a mercenary. This is hilarious because my current military strength was 2 men, 1 fear, and a dream that was increasingly unrealistic. But 100 coins per influence sounded nice, so I accepted. Who am I to deny an empire their economic relief? With my new job secured, I immediately misclicked. Again. And a group of steep bandits ambushed us, but this time it was 3 versus 7, and we actually won. A statistical miracle. Feeling good, I recruited more noble sons, upgraded my riding skill with breeder perk, and because I make great decisions, wandered into Tial. From there I explored Stugerian snowfields where I found another weakened steppe bandit party and defeated them. Progress. And then, Señor of the Lake Rats appeared. A minor faction that somehow spawned in the Arctic Circle for no reason. They had an army, I had 3 dudes. He attacked us, we fought 3 versus 38. I don't know who expected a different outcome, but I respect your optimism. They dragged me around for a few days. I refused every offer to be released. Partially because I wanted to keep my money, and partially because I forgot which button does what. Eventually, I escaped. And instantly got attacked by looters. But since I'm contractually obliged to suffer, this made sense. I beat them, took a prisoner, and continued limping towards civilization. I did a simple quest delivering goods for a local noble, a nice break from unrelenting violence, and continued my journey. Selling loot because I was over capacity and emotionally fragile. Next, I reached Tepes village, sold goods, recruited 2 Kuzai Torgut, and thought to myself, wow, maybe things are stabilizing. Classic mistake. I left the village, came back for more recruits, then made my way to Mekeb, sold prisoners, fought looters, and kept getting just enough victories to maintain my delusion of competence. We had a quest to deliver prisoners, so we went to Chaikent, sold loot and scouted for more troops. Everything was surprisingly calm. No ambushes, no disasters, yet. Then I went to Gerent for more troops. Still not captured, still alive, I was beginning to suspect the game was broken. We reached the Esrai border at Erzenur, and the Northern and Western Empire made peace, giving me a little breathing room. Not like it mattered with 10 troops, I wasn't exactly shaping the political climate anyways. We trained on looters, fought smaller steep bandits, won and finally started resembling something close to a functioning warband. For the first time, we weren't the prey, we were slightly less prey. Of course, the Western Empire declared war on Aserai, but since I was basically a freelancer with a small cult following, I didn't take it personally. We kept fighting, selling loot, upgrading horses, winning battles, even destroying a steep bandit party of 15 with just 9 men. The tables were beginning to turn. We grew to 28 troops. We could clear hideouts, we had income, we had momentum, a rare event in my Bannerlord playthroughs. We kept pushing, cleared outposts, bought horses, evaded enemy armies and hit 33 troops. We were slowly shaping into a respectable force. And then the peak. 45 mounted troops. My proud little army of turbocharged future war criminals. We reached Odoch, sold prisoners, recruited more troops and continued the loop of progress. Train, fight, sell, upgrade, repeat. Then we spotted a caravan, a whole wool weaver convoy, a perfect test for my miniature cavalry god squad.
Warriors, follow your sergeants!
We attacked, we won, we looted, unfortunately wool. The softest disappointment imaginable. And then we saw it. A juicy clump of 66 deserters. We had 45. This was the first real battle.
Everyone! Sergeants, you are on command!
We won, barely, and we looted real gear, took prisoners and came out stronger, but at a great cost. My army was reduced to 23. But we rebuilt, recruited more troops, attacked another caravan, won, sold the spoils, did quests, killed raiders and slowly reforged the army. Upgrading items, gaining skills, clearing hideouts, you know, the daily medieval grind. And just in time, our empire made peace with the Aserai. Finally, we were free to roam without getting vaporized by professional soldiers. Now it was just us, the open steppe, and the endless supply of bandits who refused to leave me alone. Or since the tables have turned, I refuse to leave them alone. And then the cycle continued. Like the world's dumbest ecosystem, everything fed into everything else. I hunted raiders, I recruited troops, I upgraded skills, I entered tournaments for no reason other than gambling addiction and free helmets. It was beautiful in its own dysfunctional way. Slowly but surely my tiny warband evolved. 20 troops became 30, 30 became 50, 50 became oh no, I actually need to feed those people. But somehow, despite the logistics nightmare, we reached an incredible milestone: 105 soldiers. A triple-digit army, a blob of horse archers large enough to blot out the sun. A force so powerful it made me forget that earlier I was losing 1 versus 8 to looters. With our new numbers, I spotted a group of 66 enemies. A perfect snack, so naturally I charged at them like a man who just discovered the sprint key.
Warriors! Sergeants! You are on command!
And the victory was overwhelming. We lost 0 men. 0. None. My army performed like a synchronized ballet troupe armed with composite bows. The enemy meanwhile performed like a campfire, burning out and disorganized. After the dust settled, I took their lord prisoner, not because I needed him, but because my backpack was feeling empty. Then we marched onward, cleansing the countryside of any brave or stupid enough to walk near us. Next, we clashed with a force of 114 enemies against our 106, a proper battle. The kind of fight where tactics matter, positioning matters, and morale matters.
Hear me! Follow your sergeants!
Fortunately, I ignored all of that and still won with 0 casualties. My troops carried me so hard I might as well have been ballast. At this point, the transformation was complete. We were no longer the prey. We were no longer the steppe's favorite chew toy. We had become the apex predator of the region. A roving doom cloud of horses, arrows, shouting, and questionable smell. When enemy parties saw us, they ran. Villagers scattered, bandits screamed. Even some lords began pretending they had somewhere else to be. We hunted down a group of 38 men like a pack of wolves that just discovered multiplayer. They tried to run, and they failed. We showed them politely but firmly who owns the steeps now, and in return they gave us loot, prisoners, and a healthy supply of gear upgrades. Every fight made my army stronger, every victory sharpened us, and every enemy lord we threw into captivity added an extra sparkle to our growing collection of grievances and future diplomacy problems. But it was all glorious. Finally, after hours of being beaten, captured, dropped, kicked, and spiritually demolished, we were the ones doing the demolishing. After our glorious victory streak, I decided to take on something a bit more humanitarian. A villager approached me with a request. His family member had been kidnapped by a bounty hunters. A noble quest, a righteous mission, a good deed. And also a great excuse to test my 100-man dead ball on people who absolutely did not deserve it. We wiped out the bounty hunters in about 3 seconds, especially since I just clicked clear hideout button. And the peasants were happy and I got paid 3000 coins. And of course my soldiers immediately demanded half of it in wages. This was the Bannerlord equivalent of payday. You get the money and then it disappears faster than your hopes in the early game. With finances dwindling and hunger rising, we ventured back into Strugarian snowfields. Why? Because somehow the steep bandits migrated north like confused geese. And where there are bandits, there is profit to be made. So we cleaned out the forests like we were doing medieval pest control. We moved on to Sibir and hired Tamara the Exile, our first companion. A woman hardened by exile, poverty, and the misfortune of meeting me. I gave her gear so she wouldn't die instantly and called it character's development. Then in Vornovpal we hired our second companion, Patid the Swordsman, a man whose entire personality is "please stop hitting me with friendly fire." He got gear too because I seen how my arrows behave in the heat of the battle. And let me tell you, they found their way sometimes to my companions and my troops. With the new companions, we traveled to Belgrade and fought poachers in the woods. A perfect environment for horse archers. Trees everywhere, limited mobility, no visibility, truly peak military planning on my part. But somehow, miraculously, we won. With our confidence rising and our common sense diminishing, we marched straight into Battania during winter. Because when your kingdom is at war and you're role-playing as a mounted archer army, you should absolutely invade the region known for elite archers and trees. What could go wrong? We fought deserters, raided villages, stole their turnips, harassed their lords, and remembered why Battanian fiends are feared everywhere. Those guys shoot through armor like it's wet cardboard. Still, we survived, minimal casualties and maximum stress. We continued raiding villages because we were 3000 kilometers from home and consequences were imaginary. We bullied local lords, we chased fleeting nobles, we got ambushed in the woods because apparently counting enemy troops is not a skill I possess. And we took losses, sure, but the victory was ours. We eventually headed back toward civilized lands and picked up Vasilops the Surgeon in Jalmaris. The moment he joined, the war with Battania ended. I like to think he negotiated peace personally, using medical tools as persuasion. We returned home, only for my empire to immediately declare war on the Cossacks. You know, the people whose villages I rely on for the troops. The place where my entire cavalry pipeline exists. Suddenly my recruitment grounds were full of hostile horsemen who wanted me dead. But desperation breeds efficiency. I tiptoed around their territory collecting recruits and war horses like a medieval scavenger. Of course, the Cossacks nobles had bought all of the good troops, which left me with recruits who had the survivability of breadcrumbs. Still, through persistence and excessive violence, we forged an army of 130 Khan guards. A majestic sight, a tidal wave of cavalry so strong I started feeling bad for the AI. Not enough to stop, but the guild was there. Somewhere in that training arc, I looted a noble bow, which statistically outclassed my old bow so hard that equipping it felt like cheating. And then the peace. Beautiful, glorious peace. Our empire made peace with Cossacks, the world calmed, and I decided to try something dangerous. Trading. Surely this would be profitable. It was not profitable. I loaded goods in Onira, traveled across the world to Aserai lands and discovered the market was already full. A total loss, but at least I got the whole seller perk giving me minus 15% penalty while selling. Which is great because I was now selling at a loss more efficiently. So the next logical step was to travel across the map to Vlandia. Maybe Galand needed goods. Nope, they did not. They had the exact same trash I was carting around. Fine, next plan. Buy all the goods from Vlandian villages and sell them to distant Sturgian towns. Surely that would work. It didn't. Absolute failure. The Sturgians looked at my merchandise and said, "We have those at home," and fought sea raiders out of a pure spite. And then a miracle. While wandering, trading, failing, and dodging disappointment, Kar Beneset rebelled. A full town, an entire settlement, now independent, no king, no army, just sitting there, waiting, vulnerable and beautiful. That was our signal. Trading was over, diplomacy was dead. It was time to siege, time to carve out a permanent home, time to transform Gooner the First from wandering horse goblin into a legitimate power. When Carbenets rebelled, I didn't hesitate, I didn't strategize, I didn't even blink. My brain fired one neuron, just one, and it screamed, "Go now!" So we beeline straight to the city like a starving man sprinting toward a buffet. Of course, to siege the town we had to start a war with its old owner, which Bannerlord requires you to do in the most morally questionable way possible, by burning their village to the ground, of course. So I did that, and let me tell you, they did not appreciate my diplomatic approach. The villagers now hate me with such intensity that even under my rule they will probably spit on the ground when I walk by. But sacrifices must be made for the Empire of Gooner. With war officially declared and no turning back, we began the siege. They had 233 defenders, we had an army powered by sugar spite and questionable tactical knowledge. Then came an unexpected twist. Half of my army caught bloody flux. Absolutely incredible timing. But I am nothing if not stubborn, so instead of lifting the siege, I simply said no, and continued anyway. We broke their walls, destroyed their siege engines, and marched right in. Their militia stood bravely in our path, and we promptly ignored them like spam emails. We crushed them beneath the hooves of progress, and the city fell with the structural integrity of wet paper. Carbenset was ours, a glorious new base of operations, a shining beacon of hope, and unfortunately located on the opposite side of the world from everything convenient. But it was ours. Carbenets didn't fall because of my strategy, it fell because the defenders realized I was insane enough to siege with a plague-ridden army and decided it wasn't worth the trouble. And as long as we didn't declare ourselves a kingdom, we were safe. No one knew who we were, no one cared, and that made us powerful. Carbonet had loyalty issues, of course. The citizens looked at me with the same enthusiasm you'd give to a tax collector, but nothing a good governor and several hundred armed horsemen couldn't fix. We hunted the remaining rebel bands in the area to stabilize the region. We crushed deserters, we cleaned the roads, we even bullied a lone deserter by putting him against an army of 200 plus men. Was it necessary? Nope. Was it satisfying? Oh, absolutely. The first thing we built in the town was a courthouse. Not because we respect law and order, but because loyalty is the only thing standing between us and a citizen-led uprising. And after the way we took the town, yeah, they're thinking about it. Not long after, I received a letter from Ragvant. He asked if I wanted to pledge myself as his vassal. Very flattering, very cute. Naturally, I declined. I didn't capture a city on the far side of the universe and commit several war crimes just to become someone's errand boy. With our town secure, our independence recognized, and our past lords no longer owning our soul, we were free. Truly free. The Gooner horde had entered the geopolitical stage. So I did what any responsible leader would do. I did the quests for my townsfolk to raise relations. Escorting caravans, clearing threats, helping villagers, because if they're going to live under my rule, they may as well like me a little bit. I mean, I'm definitely not gonna use their troops, but my men will for sure do. And then after all of that came the message, historic and unsettling, a reminder of what we're capable of in this world. On the 15th day of summer, 1088, Battania has fallen. An entire kingdom wiped off the face of Calradia, just gone, and in the ashes of fallen nation stands us. A new force, a rising power, a group of horse archers with a dream and a city we stole during a moment of opportunity. With Carbeset under our control, I began the longest and most mind-numbing part of Bannerlord campaign, AFK town building. It's a magical process. You press a button, walk away, and pray the town doesn't explode while you're gone. Hours pass, days pass, and slowly, painfully, buildings appear. It's like watching a paint dry but with a higher chance of getting sieged. But while my town crawled toward functionality, I realized something critical, something philosophical, something emotionally devastating. I am old. 50 years old to be exact, riding around with 130 horse archers pretending my joints don't sound like a creaking wagon. And I was missing something. A wife, a partner, someone who can tolerate everything about me that I personally cannot. So I embarked on a noble quest, Operation Find Gooner a Wife. A romantic journey powered mostly by boredom and loneliness. Our first stop was Druimore Castle, a lovely place, scenic, rich in history, filled with absolutely no eligible women. A complete waste of travel time around our neighborhood. Next on the tour was Ormfarad Castle, where I met Adalindis, a proud, dignified Vlandian woman. She saw me, a foreign old man dressed in looted gear, smelling faintly of wet horse, and naturally responded with, "Who are you and why are you talking to me?" But through sheer persistence and the power of awkward flirting, we made progress. Microscopic, painful progress. Feeling the momentum, I moved on to the Ox Hall. 2 more ladies lived there, 2 more women who looked at me with a level of disinterest usually reserved for taxes and unseasoned food. They weren't exactly Olympic medalists in attractiveness either, so nothing of value was lost. So I returned to my first candidate, Adalandis, the only woman in Calradia willing to speak to me for more than 4 seconds. And this time it worked. She agreed to marry me. There was just one catch. Her father needed to approve. which meant tracking down a man named Ekarant who was doing whatever mysterious medieval dads do all day. Luckily, he happened to be wandering right next to my town, which was very convenient, and I bribed him with 6 glinter ponies. Yes, 6 horses in exchange for his daughter. Perfectly normal Coloradian economics. And just like that, I was married. Gooner the First, husband, lord, accidental war criminal, a family man. Oh, and let me tell you, Adelandis came with the gear, real gear. Armor so good it made my entire outfit look like it came from a thrift shop. Stats better than mine, charisma stronger than my will to live, a pure beauty in every category. Before long, we even had a child, a small bundle of joy, responsibility, and future inheritance arguments. With a wife and a child secured, I immediately kicked my wife out of the house. Not metaphorically, I literally assigned her to lead a patrol party so she wouldn't have more kids. Practicality at its finest. And while all of this domestic bliss was happening, my town was bringing in money. Real money. Caravans I completely forgot I hired were suddenly turning profits. Our income no longer relied on violence, looting, or burning villages. For the first time in this entire playthrough, the Gooner horde was financially stable. A terrifying thought. With our new wife, new kid, and now town secured, we did what any rational Gooner would do. We immediately abandoned all domestic responsibilities and returned to Kazai territory to build the single greatest cavalry force the world has ever seen. We retraced our old footsteps, the same fields where looters beat us, the same hills where bandits drag us like luggage, the same villages that once refused to sell us a half-dead pony. But things were different now. We were strong, rich, experienced, and filled with a burning desire to bully our old bullies. We hunted steep raiders, we crushed deserter armies that arrived in larger and larger numbers like migrating birds with swords. We bought horses, trained recruits, and upgraded our troops like a medieval sweatshop. And slowly, gloriously, our numbers exploded. 100 horse archers, then 150, then 200, then 218 mounted archers. Mounted on 218 angry horses, all pointed in the same general direction of destruction. Not all were elite yet, but that's why we began training Arc 2.0. An arc powered by grinding looters until they develop PTSD and donating every useful piece of gear to my troops because apparently teamwork means giving them army better armor than me. After terrorizing the steeps, we returned home to check out on Carbonets. The town was thriving, buildings rising, people tolerating my existence, so I went AFK again, staring at my screen like a proud landlord watching rent money materialize. During this AFK meditation, something miraculous happened. Gooner II aged up to 2 years old. A ripe age, a dangerous age, an age where childhood development choice matter. So naturally I trained him in vigor, control and endurance, the holy trinity of beating people and not getting tired. He even showed natural intelligence, very suspicious for a Gooner, but we'll allow it. With my hair growing strong, I returned to Makeb to buy myself the full Khan Guard drip. I put armor so expensive it made villagers whisper horse's bow and my wife question our finances. I looked terrifying, unstoppable, I looked like a man who would lose 1 versus 1 against a rock thrown by a looter, but in a style. After flexing my new gear, I returned to Carbonet and continued doing quests for my villagers. Protecting caravans, babysitting supply routes, scaring off looters with my 200 horse welcoming committee. Truly, I was the local hero everyone feared. Then I went to the tavern and played a board game to win back a villager lost bet, and honestly, it was harder than some actual battles we had. Meanwhile, Gooner II grew into early childhood, unlocking his first traits. Never tires out and shoots at targets when alone. A true Gooner in the making, endurance like a donkey, accuracy like a problem. I was proud. We also hit clan tier 5, which didn't matter because we could start the kingdom at tier 4 anyway, but it looked impressive on paper. Our best victories so far weren't against actual empires, no. They were against massive deserter bands, 80 to 100 men strong, that were reduced to dust for entertainment and XP. And eventually 246 Khan guards. A full cavalry legion, a stampede of doom, a force so terrifying that enemy parties vanished the moment our icon appeared on the map. And what do you do when you're bored and powerful? Of course, you bully the weakest nearby empire, the Southern Empire. We raided their villages, attacked their lords, chased down their nobles, and generally ruined their afternoon. They tried resisting, of course, but that lasted about 4 minutes. Sadly, even though we were mighty, we still couldn't siege their towns. Too many defenders, not enough numbers. And also, I didn't feel like losing 246 horse archers to rocks. So we kept hunting Southern Empire clans for XP and loot. And then came the weirdest diplomatic offer of my career. Anquid of the Asrai Empire offered to make me his vassal. Given that Carbonest is basically a vacation home inside enemy territory, this somehow sounded smart. So I went looking for him. Along the way, I saw the Asrai army besieging Southern Empire castles. Proof that they actually fight wars unlike my previous employers. And while observing them, one Asrai lord gave me a quest. Collect revenue on his behalf. A classic shakedown job, perfect for building trust. Except I didn't shake them down. The villagers complained about the taxes and I let them keep their money. I already had enough cash to give the lord myself. Who says you can't do crime and kindness at the same time? A true moral bipolar moment. After squeezing Asrai villagers for taxes, politely of course, we decided to become model citizen and clear a desert bandit hideout. Not for justice or safety, but to make the Asrai like us more. Human connection is a currency and I was broke. Next we began the grand Anquid search. Our mission? Locate the man offering us a shiny new life as an Asrai vassal. Our problem? He is built like a ghost and moves like one too. So we stopped at Habyar. No Anquid. We checked the Jaimeh castle. Still no Anquid. We went to the Quasar. Still nothing. Until we found Hafisa, who casually mentioned he was around Hiblet. A vague description worthy of a missing person poster, but it was all we had. So we rode to Hiblet, searched every bush, every goat, every confused villager, and found nothing. Typical. But then, on the horizon, like a desert mirage of questionable political choices, we spotted him. Anquid the Elusive, Asrai's wandering king, part-time ruler, full-time inconvenience. We chased him down with the enthusiasm of a tax collector, cornered him in an open desert and finally spoke. And with that conversation, we officially became a vassal of the Asrai. A new age, a new flag, and a new paycheck. And a mountain of new ways to be disappointed. Anquid even gifted me a few troops. No idea what to do with them. They were horse cavalry, but not the type we want. After all, I ride a rolling thundercloud of mountain archers. Honestly, it was like gifting a submarine to a desert nomad, kind but unhelpful. And then the real surprise, Anquid granted me Joguri's castle, a beautiful stronghold, a strategic position, a home for my troops. And on the complete opposite side of the world, I don't know what it is with kingdoms and giving me property in geographical purgatory, but at this point I just accept it. Meanwhile, my second child, who I named I Don't Remember You, because honestly I don't, aged up. We gave him random stats, good luck buddy. As if one castle wasn't enough, the Aserai then granted me Chanopsis Castle too. The kingdom apparently decided I should own more stone buildings than common sense. We even voted on a trade agreement with the Northern Empire, yes. I had entered politics, dark times indeed. But with the new castles came new problems. Loyalty. Both fortresses sat inside former enemy territory, meaning their people loved me about as much as steep bandits love paying ransom. We needed governors and we needed them fast. So I appointed Tamare the Exile as a governor, a woman who has endured exile, hardships, poverty, and now the responsibility of dealing with unhappy peasants who hate me. I gave her money for construction projects, not for political gain, just because I felt bad. With the castle secured, our new responsibility kicked in, defending the villages. Gone were the days of raiding, now we played babysitter to a region constantly harassed by the Southern Empire. Fleets of tiny enemy parties scurried around like cockroaches trying to burn my villages. Naturally, I stepped on them. And in the middle of all of this chaos, we captured Ragea, the literal queen and leader of the Southern Empire. She tried negotiating, she tried reasoning, she tried maintaining dignity while being stuffed in my castle prison. And she was a beautiful addition to the collection. By this point I captured so many nobles that my dungeon needed a loyalty program. After filling our prisoners with a respectable collection of Southern Empire nobility, we returned to our favorite pastime, hunting lords like rats outside Lycaron. The perfect sport, fast, satisfying, morally questionable, and absolutely encouraged by the Aserai economy. While lurking in the grass, we spotted an Aserai army heading toward Lycaron. Naturally, we joined them. What followed was kind of a siege you see in academic textbooks, if those textbooks were written by drunk schoolers. With over 2,000 troops surrounding the town, we began the siege. I confidently placed ladders on the walls, climbed up, and was immediately shoved back down like an unwanted piece of furniture. I fell so many times I'm pretty sure my spine achieved a negative durability score. Eventually, through persistence, luck, and gravity, we made it across the walls. I tried running to the gates to open them from the inside, but instead wandered into a conveyor belt of angry soldiers coming up a staircase inside a tower. It looked like a medieval escalator of pain. Sadly, I did not win the town ownership roulette. Lycaron was granted to someone else. A tragedy, truly. But politics is just losing at gambling with extra steps. Suddenly the war notifications exploded, once again. Turns out the Southern Empire had been wiped out entirely by our forces. Every minor rebel faction that spawned afterward decided the correct reaction was to declare war on us as a peace offering. And so, on the first day of spring 9096, the Southern Empire officially ceased to exist. We celebrated by immediately receiving another castle, Sestadim Castle, courtesy of the Asterai Generosity Lottery. We continued wandering, fighting enemy parties to test our horde's strength. The results were simple. We won everything, easily. But the casualties were unfortunate. Turns out horses don't like rocks and the enemy loved hiding behind them. Bunch of cowards, but a win is a win after all. We returned to bullying deserter parties of 100 plus men for XP and morale. Training Arc 2.0 still ongoing. The horde looked magnificent.
Everyone, follow your sergeants!
Meanwhile, Gooner II grew into childhood. We chose Master at Arms because every Gooner must be a menace and put his focus points into one-handed. The trainer said he's a natural with polearms. That's concerning, but we'll take it. On the horizon, a Crusade army of 291 soldiers appeared. Perfect, we had 291 Khan guards. A fair fight, a mirror match, a true test of a skill. And the battle lasted approximately 12 seconds. They stood no chance.
Soldiers! Sergeants, you are on command!
We rushed toward Gao's castle, but arrived just a few seconds late. Enemy took it and hid inside. We prepared to chase them when they exited, but the army disbanded because their cohesion collapsed. They scattered like cockroaches under a lantern. Pathetic. Then Juguri's castle, our own castle, fell to an enemy siege. We arrived seconds too late once again. But this time a defending army came out to chase us. A mistake. Our friendly armies arrived, cohesion restored, and suddenly the hunters became the hunted. And we crushed them. While sieging, we didn't notice another enemy army sneaking up. They tried ambushing us, but we survived the first wave. But then another army of 946 soldiers approached us. We had 543. Simple math, nope. So we ran to Sironea and hid inside like terrified university students hiding from responsibility. When the coast was clear, we teamed up with the allied forces to defend Picoan. Defensive battles suit me more because my horse can't die if he's behind a wall, and the enemy willingly runs into my arrows. I still fell in the battle because I'm me, but my men cleaned up beautifully. Victory meant new prisoners, more trophies, and the dungeon collection grows. We went on offensive and reclaimed Gao's castle. Immediately afterwards, we marched towards Myzia, a town the enemy had taken. Allied armies joined us on siege, and we had 1,676 soldiers. They had 438. A fair fight. We broke the walls, stormed the breach, and I sprinted through the rubble to open up inner gate. The defenders, apparently napping, barely reacted. And my troops ignored me completely and ran the wrong way, but eventually enough of them noticed to open gate to hold it in. My Zia fell quickly and was granted to the Gooner clan. Finally, a win in the Thief lottery. We returned to Cyrenea to help defend it. Another easy win, more prisoners and more trophies. Then Odrissa castle was under siege. We rushed in, sneaking past enemy armies, and I lost few troops. And I fell off the wall again naturally, but defenders held firm and the castle survived. And somewhere in all of this chaos, our other child, I don't remember you, aged up. Still not memorable though. Next we marched to siege Erzenur, but as enemy armies surrounded us, a tragedy struck. I forgot to monitor my army cohesion. My entire army disbanded mid-siege. Everyone just went home. They left me standing there like an idiot with 190 troops, staring at a fortress. A masterpiece of leadership. Thankfully, another Aserai army appeared. I joined the siege instead, reformed my army, and eventually we took the castle anyway. And captured even more lords. Always a plus. A simple assault, I thought, but no. Enemy armies started appearing like ants at a picnic, so we ran away. All the way to the Oak. We then moved on to Simira Castle. Siege preparations began. A simple assault, I thought, but nope. Enemy armies started appearing like ants at a picnic, so we ran all the way to the Odok. There we defend a siege of over 1,400 attackers, and somehow we won. Another pile of fresh trophies for the dungeon. After the victory, we targeted Akalat next, but just as we were about to begin our glorious siege, our faction made peace with the Khazaits. With the Khazaits temporarily pacified and my army barely held together with dreams and duct tape, it was time to tie up loose ends. Specifically, loose end named Zionita, one of the very last Western Empire strongholds. So we marched across the continent, gathering every soldier within earshot, chasing enemy lords like rats fleeing a bakery. and finally surrounded Zeonica with a terrifying force of nearly 1,800 soldiers. They had 1,100 defenders and the energy of a man trying to hold back a float with a spoon. But then, because I am an architect of my own suffering, I once again forgot to monitor my army cohesion. My entire army disbanded mid-siege. Again. Second time, same mistake. At this point, I'm convinced cohesion exists purely to remind me I shouldn't lead anything larger than a goat. So we left the siege, reformed the army and started the entire process over again, this time babysitting cohesion like a fragile houseplant. Meanwhile, we prepared. Gooner II reached age of 11, the Gooning age. And naturally we picked traits like his strength because Gooners need an iron grip, and we pushed his polearm skills even higher. He even showed talent in scouting, which is useful because his father consistently walks into danger blind. With parenting done, we resumed the siege. This time nothing stopped us. I charged through the broken wall, ate arrows like breakfast cereal, and opened the inner gate while defenders erased my health bar in real time. But the gate stayed open, the troops swarmed in and Zeonica finally fell. We saw the prisoners, pocketed the cash and immediately marched on our next target, Jalmaris. This siege was a joke, over in a snap. Only highlights were me holding the gate open and getting a rock dropped on my skull from the gatehouse, like some medieval comedy routine. Then I got knocked out again, climbing the wall to punish the rooftop archers, and my troops finished the job as usual. Next stop, Rotea, the last city of Western Empire. We didn't think, we just sprinted towards it. As we began the siege, enemy lords gathered around like spectators at the gladiator match. They stood there watching us, afraid to engage, until they built up enough courage and jumped us. And the ensuing battle was biblical. Forest terrain, multiple lords, overwhelming numbers. But our troops were simply better. Years of grinding deserters and breaking raider armies paid off. We annihilated them. And then another wave of lords, another battle, another victory. We filled our prisons with so many nobles it looked like a medieval shopping mall. Finally the siege began for real. I get knocked out, obviously, my troops stormed the walls and Rotea fell. And with that, the Western Empire ceased to exist. On the 12th day of summer, 1100, it was gone. Pulverized, deleted. The Aserai Empire expanded and our horde was one of the main reasons it happened. But peace never lasts. The Aserai immediately declared war on Vlandia, and as luck would have it, my only town was located right in their belly. I sprinted home and reached the gates moment before a 2,300-man Vladanian army arrived. I dove into the town like a panicked squirrel diving into a tree hole. Inside, 77 defenders. Outside, thousands. We built siege defenses as fast as humanly possible, barely getting 3 machines out before they attacked. Against all logic and probability, we survived. Another mountain of Vlandian lords was added to my prison. Then we chased down their smaller armies to secure the region, and when things looked stable, I called a new army of 1,000 men and marched to siege Druimore Castle. We won, but the castle went to someone else because Bannerlord politics is just emotional damage in a menu form. While inside the castle, a Vladian army of 1,000 men attacked us, but they forgot we had 800 defenders and stone walls, so we reduced them to atoms. Then peace, briefly, as the new war with Khuzaites, of course, started. Since we were already mobilized, we stormed Epikrotea, then Ressos castle, and during the siege I tried opening the gate but got trapped between the outer and inner gate like a medieval sandwich. My horse gun, my dignity gun, but we still won. Then Diatma fell, then Atrion castle fell, then Gauss, during which I got knocked out again. My skull probably looks like a cracked vase. Our army limped towards Sironea, barely alive when a Khazaite force ambushed us. Somehow we won, but we were bleeding troops every fight. down to 171, then 98 while running, then 73. We kept trying to escape, but more lords chased us. One Crusade lord split from the main group. A fatal mistake. Even in our weakened form, the Khan guards obliterated him. Then we ran to Gauss to join a friendly army sieging the town, only to get ambushed by yet another cluster of lords. 212 troops against our 44. Completely hopeless. And somehow we still won, with 0 casualties. A miracle, a glitch in the simulation, or divine intervention from the gods of cavalry. And at last, we rejoined the main army and helped complete the siege. And then, I knew. Gooner I had enough. He set a course for the retreat. A mythical sanctuary whispered about by wanderers and mystics. Mount Erythris awaited. A place where war ends and peace begins. He rode for days with only 44 loyal Khan guards left. Past battlefields, burned villages, and memories of the lives he took and the lives he saved. Finally, he arrived at the base of the ancient volcano, home of the seers and hermits. There an old man sat in silent meditation at the mouth of the cave. No words needed, no explanations required. Gooner I chose peace. He left his clan to his wife, passed the legacy to his children, and stepped into the mountains. A legend walking into myth, never seen again, forever gooning in spirit. And so that was the life of Gooner I. A man who started with nothing but a cheap bow, a broken horse, and the structural integrity of wet bread. And somehow became the terrifying horseback hurricane that reshaped Calradia. He fought thousands, survived dozens of defeats, dodged countless arrows, and died on the battlefield so often it became a family hobby. Yet he always rose again, always rebuilt, and returned with a slightly bigger army and dramatically worse plan. He unified nothing, solved no political problems, and destabilized entire world powers out of boredom. But he gave his clan a future, a home, a legacy bound not by banners or oaths, but a sheer gooning determination. And in the end, he did what few warlords ever dare. He chose peace. He left the world behind, the swords, the sieges, the flaming villages, and walked into the mountains, leaving only whisperers behind.